This week, Glitter Girl looked out and caught sight of a popular problem. When scrapbooking a party, how can we best get photos of everyone on the page? Should we include photos of just people, or also the atmosphere? Glitter Girl, can you help document a day full of delight?
Of course I can. Today I'm working on a double page spread for my album that includes always one 12 by 12 and one divided page protector combined to create a look across the 2-page spread. And I'm going to be using 13 photos from a party. So I've printed them in a variety of sizes, which is a little different to how I tend to do my 12 by 12 pages, but works really well for me with the pocket pages. I have 3 4 by 6 images, 1 portrait and 2 landscape, a couple of smaller square photos from phone pictures, and then I've printed 2 different strips of 4 photos each, and I've just lined them up and in my photo editing software to make a new image that I could then print at 6 inches wide. So that way it will fit in a pocket. Now, this does mean that my photos of everybody at the party are smaller than the 4x6 prints that I might normally use, but I do like that it means I can get everybody and all the details in. And straight away I can tell you that yes, I do like to include both the pictures of the people and the pictures of the atmosphere, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as I go. But in these strips I've included each one has 3 with people and then 1 atmosphere shot, and the two landscape shots are more atmosphere, they don't have people in, and 1 of the squares. Now, my other challenge to myself today is that I want to do this layout using mostly one Project Life kit. So I'm using this one, which you've seen me use a few times if you've been watching recently. It's the Flea Market Maggie Holmes mini kit, and it has 100 cards divided between the 4x6 size and the 3x4 size. Now, I've gone through and picked out a selection of cards that I think will work. I may need to go back and add in some more if I don't have enough going on the page. But what I'm going to do is stay mostly to those cards, and I'll cut some of them up to use as embellishments. I will need to pull in a little bit extra, of course. So I have one 12 by 12 sheet that's from Simple Stories. And then I've pulled out 2 washi tapes, 1 aqua and 1 pink. And all these other bits are from that Maggie Holmes Project Life kit. So I'm going to do the 12 by 12 first, and then the pockets, and hopefully show you a nice quick way to do a double page spread using both 12 by 12 and Project Life supplies without a whole bunch of extras. And I've also got that month-long quest to get more for my stamps, so before I'm done, I hope that there'll be some stamps on some of those cards too. Alright, let's get started. I'm starting with one 4x6 photo on the 12 by 12 side, and I want to go straight to this corner because the angle of the photo is opening this way, so my pocket page will be over here, and this will keep everything looking in toward the middle of the double page spread. And then I'm going to start in with my 12 by 12, start in with my 4x6 and 3x4 cards, and I want to bring in some places to write and some different embellishments and things like that. And I want to see if I can do things like cut these apart so that they become embellishments as well as journaling cards. And with this one, I wanted to bring this black label so that it will be a layer on top of everything else, and it can overlap the photo. So I'm just cutting the label away from the card, and using some black accents in this layout. So on all the pieces that I ink, I'll be using black ink around the edges. And I know I've cut right through this card, but it won't show in the end. It'll be fine. So by placing this one over here, I start in with just a really subtle statement of the color scheme right from the beginning. And this photo is going to go on top of that. So now I have some room for journaling. And my journaling box here and some of the other embellishments are going to be on an angle, but the photo is straight. And I have this label. So I can bring it right back into where it was because it's not losing any value in the photo there. It's just the window and the curtains. You can't see anything else outside the window, so not a problem. And just using some foam squares on the back of this so that it will have a little dimension up off the page from where it came from. Okay, now I have 2 more photos that I want to go on this page, and I want everything to lead in so that the other 12 by 12, the pockets are going to lean in toward the other way. So that means that something along the lines of an L shape or corner piece should work well to bring that across. Now, let's see. I think that's going to be too samey. Yeah. So instead of using that full card, I think it might be better to work with the smaller cards. And bring in something pink. Yep. So that I just have these angled cards creating that visual line that's going to be my corner design. So the cards are at an angle, but the photos maybe a bit straighter on the page. And I can start with the larger picture here. Just make sure I have it the right way up. Bring that up so you can see the pink. So that photo is at a little bit of an angle, not as much as the cards. And then bring this one here. Now, I'm not loving this yellow against the vibrancy of this yellow, so I'm going to replace that little yellow printed tape design with a strip of the pink washi tape. And that photo, I'm just going to follow this line so it ends up that these smaller photos are actually at an angle too, just like the card, so that's okay. The largest photo is straight, which should keep the attention on the bigger photo a little bit and help all those different angles work together. So if you have one that's nice and straight, it tends to help bring everything else a little bit more aligned so that there's something where your eye can rest on a natural, straight and grounded element. So it helps if that's one of the bigger pieces. Okay, I have some other cards here that I want to use as embellishments. So I've pulled out one like this to use in the pocket, and I just want a little bit of this pattern on this page so it will coordinate. So I'll start with this little strip. Let's see if there's a good spot to use this. I want to bring this up on the corner design here. So I need to extend this to make it so that it really is a corner. And now I have that covered up, the cut part in that card, but I have this little bit of space that isn't perfect, so I'll use another element there. This card has these little boxes, so I can cut them out. And the thing I like is that this isn't a waste of the 4x6 card. I can still use this as a journaling box, or I could use this whole big strip. I tend to end up using all the different pieces, but I do like with this particular set that there are so many little pieces you can cut apart and use as embellishments, and still have the simplicity of the plain cards if you want to work with them that way. But if you want to layer them up, you can cut as many of them up into all sorts of different pieces. Okay, so what if this one pops underneath? Still need something across here. Well, this one is all strips of different words. So I'm going to pick out a strip that has words that pertain to the story. And that will be a nice narrow little strip, which can run right over the top of that and get rid of that little awkward space. In fact, I think I'm going to shorten this here. Getting there, and then I have this little pink stamp. So I've just used the same couple cards and put all these pieces back together, just in a different arrangement. And I think maybe this little gap in here would be good with some of that tape, so that there's something either side of the corner design to help pull it all together. I'll pull this up for just a second. I want the black label up on the top there, and this is just a bit longer than I want, so I can pull it back. There we go. So it's starting to get into that corner design now, and this strip here with the roses, I've also got that rose in just an individual rose printed on one of the cards, so I can cut that one out and use it as a shaped embellishment. That way I'll have a bit of variety and not have everything be so boxy, and so that helps add a little variety to the layers as well. So here's that little flower down here in the corner, just to add a little variety in the shape. And everything here is just built up higher in the corner and further down to this corner, using those same cards, just the different bits and pieces of all the same cards that I pulled out. Now I'm ready to add a little bit of stamping and some of my journaling and a title. And I'll have lots of open space up here to just let all of this kind of soak in and balance it with the fact that there's quite a lot of open space that doesn't require much thought. So I'm going to use the same stamps that I've used a couple times now, the Amy Tangerine +1 stamp set, and just plain black ink to add a few little touches before I put my journaling on. So I want something down here in this bottom corner to anchor the fact that that's where everything comes together. I'm just going to let this overlap both the photo and the aqua background. And that works out okay. If that terrified you, don't panic, because last week that's exactly what we were talking about, which was if I stamp right in the middle of a layout that's almost done and it goes wrong, what can I do about it? And you can always just stamp on another piece of paper, cut it out, and put it over the top. It's definitely okay. I have a few more little scraps of the cards that I've been cutting up. So I think I'll do some of the stamping on there. Can put the camera on this pink card so that I have a bit of contrast, since I have quite a lot of cream going on. And maybe one more on that same color. This little geotag, which has a crosshatch, and then, well, no, it's not a crosshatch, it's more, well, yeah, it's sort of a crosshatch, a hand-drawn crosshatch with a heart in the middle of the geotag. So I'll cut these out and use them as embellishments in the mix of all of this, and I'll add in my journaling. Nearly done with the 12 by 12 now. I've added the title using two different sets of letter stickers. These chipboard letters from October Afternoon and some glittery thickers from American Crafts. Now, I know that I've said that my plan here was to use as much just the Project Life cards as possible. But one thing that can be really useful if you want to have a little bit more embellishment with your Project Life cards is to grab one or two embellishment sets or elements from the collection aside from the Project Life cards, even if you're going to skip the 12 by 12 papers altogether. So I have this set of 12 by 12 chipboard. It's from the same collection, that flea market collection, as the Project Life set. Now, I added this gold frame because I made a little mistake and pulled some of the color off the photo. So I just covered it up with this frame and realized that not only do I have these small versions of this heart, or this flower, I have two great big versions. So I'm going to try using this one. Up here in this top corner, it's going to be quite a bold piece to use here, and it's going to go slightly off the page, so I'll just end up trimming a little bit. I'm just trying to get rid of things like this where I have that little bit of space trapped in between. And I don't want to cover up the writing, of course. So I'm going to run it right off the page and just come back in and carefully cut that off with my scissors. That pretty much does everything I want to do on the 12 by 12. I have this box left empty, and I'm going to leave it empty until I've finished the pocket page that's going to go opposite this, so that I still have a little bit of freedom to come in and do something that's going to connect with the 12 by 12 and the pockets. So here's part 2, and this is going to face in toward the 12 by 12 that I've just finished. And this is probably the hardest part, is going through and picking which cards are going to go in which spots. And I just wanted to alternate the colors here. So this one, the green, grabs my eye first, and this one here too. These two read more as pink, and of course this one has a bit of pink to pull it all together, but essentially wanted to go green, pink, and wanted to bring in some of the same colors that I used on the other side. So that's why these colors are all there, but also the black and cream stripe. And to work with this one, I've pulled out the smaller black and cream stripe, but also one that has that black label, just like the facing page. So I have some black accents that I'll bring into that corner, and that should balance everything. Now straight away I can see that I have this green printed tape up here that doesn't really match with the feel of everything else I wanted. So I'm going to do the same thing I did on the other side, and that's to cover it up with some washi tape. So now I have that same pink tape here. Now I have my two strips of photos that I printed at 6 inches wide, and that's so they can go straight across the 4x6 cards. And this one, the same thing down in the bottom corner. So that's my basic outline of where things are going to go, and then I'm just going to add a little bit of embellishment and stamping to make this coordinate with the other side, and also add a little bit of writing. I want to keep the techniques pretty much the same as the page I've already completed, so I've done things like use that same set of stamps on the ledger pieces of the cards that I've cut up, and then cut them out and layered them up to make little details. I've got a couple left to go on. This one with the arrow I'm going to stick right on top of one of the larger photographs, and just working with this empty space here in the middle, bring that right in. And I've added a little strip to the bottom of the two 4x6 photos, and it's partially because I made a little bit of a printing mistake and there's a white line at the bottom, but also because I like the idea of bringing the cream into those two photos that both had a lot of white in the image themselves, because it was a really sunny day, and the furniture in those two pictures is white, not cream. So that kind of helps bring it back down to something that will coordinate. I have these little pieces that I've cut from a card where this piece was all pieced together like that and was all one printed design, and I've just cut it apart and I'm going to stick it back together, layering it on top of these little layers here. That gives me a journaling card there. I wanted to bring some of this black design down to here. So I have my label that I've cut out, and I'm going to cut this card into some smaller pieces so that it can become a tab to go right above that photo strip. Then the label down toward the bottom. Or it might work well here where there's a bit more empty space in the photo. I think if I put it at the bottom, I risk covering up a little bit too much of the detail so that you can't see what's in the picture. And with the smaller photos, it can be a little more difficult to see what's there. I think it'd be safer to keep the meaning of the photos if I put that up at the top. And I'll keep this out in case it comes in handy for any other little bits and pieces to cut out. And then I wanted to look at what pieces I have in my chipboard sheet, since I used that on the facing page. Thinking it would be nice to have something just big right there in the middle. I have this big green butterfly. That can go right in the middle of this card. I want some journaling here, but I have space on this one and this one, so I don't need all four for journaling. I think I just want this one to stay plain, maybe with a word strip at the bottom. And I like the idea of bringing in this little piece from the chipboard that says, "You are the sweetest." But I'm not quite sure if it should go up here or down there. Yeah, up here, I think. So, again, I'm looking for a spot where I won't disturb the photo too much, so it'll still be nice and easy to read. And I think from there, that's a good place for me to stop and add the journaling, and then I can add any tiny little finishing touches to both pages. Just about done now, and have a table full of all little strips like this from cutting all those cards up. But the only thing I'm thinking now is I'm just looking at this bottom card to see if I can bring something from the other cards down to that so that it feels like it matches quite well. And I think the best thing for me to add there would be a little bit of this washi tape, because I've only got it up here at the top, and if I just bring a little bit of it down to the bottom corner, I think that will do the trick. And I think there's enough room here if I just run it off the bottom of the card that I won't cover up too much in the photos. And then just my last little touch is actually pretty optional. I decided I'm going to add a few little enamel dots to both sides of the layout, and that's going to just be my last tiny little thing. And the reason is because I wanted to draw a little bit more attention with that floral card there, but I didn't want to do another put something in the middle because I've got that right next to it. So instead I'm going to do a few enamel dots in the middle of some of the flowers. And actually I'm not. I really thought that was going to work, but I don't like how it looks. So I think I actually will just leave that card as it is. I've tried adding a few different things to it, and they all seem to take away from the pattern rather than let the pattern shine. So since it's just a 3x4 card, I'm going to leave it as it is. I do still want to use the dots to bring the two sides together, so I think I'll just place them randomly rather than sticking right to one card. Maybe just use them like I normally do in little groupings. The enamel dots are really easy to repeat in just the same places, so I've added the pink one to the middle of the camera and then a triangle around that, and the aqua one next to the XO circle. So I'm just repeating the same things. Once I've done it once, do it again on the other page, which just leaves me with this little blank here, and I put that big Pebbles letter word stamp to use and decided I wanted to bring in a little more of this shade, and that's going to go right across there. And that was one of the cards that I'd already cut up, so I didn't need anything extra. I just have all those tiny little pieces, and I've purposely cut that one a little bit skew-if because I thought it would work well with all the different kind of angles going on there. So that's where I'm going to call this one finished. So I have my pocket page that includes all those different photos. So I have lots of people pictures, but I still have some atmosphere, and I just realized I put these two in the wrong pocket, so I'll swap those. I knew something wasn't looking quite right. And there we go. So yes, lots of people pictures, but also lots of atmosphere. Still plenty of room, and this one could be replaced. Any of these could be replaced. You could put two more photos in here if you had portrait photos from the day that needed more space. You can get quite a lot of party photos across a double page spread, and I just really like this combination of using a single 12 by 12 so that I have both options, and I like how the two can balance each other, so that you have lots of pockets, you get little bits and pieces in, but you can also use the same techniques on a full page. I mostly use that one Project Life kit, and then one set of embellishments, one set of stamps, and some letter stickers, enamel dots, little bits and pieces. But by and large, almost everything is coming from that same kit, so I can get lots of embellishment even with everything just as journaling cards. So your challenge this week is to scrap a party and see if you can get all sorts of different photos into your layout. It can be a single page, it can be a double page, it can be 12 by 12, it can be Project Life, it can be 8.5 by 11, it can be whatever style you would like to use. You can also take on that challenge of trying to do a page mostly with journaling cards, or you can use any supplies you want. It's completely up to you just to see if the idea spurs something in your mind that helps you get your party photos into your album this week. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Join us next week for the continuing adventures of Glitter Girl and the ongoing mystery of the scrapbooker behind the mask at twopsinAbucket.com.